Now, we'll bring you Raymond's account a bit later in the bulletin, but in the meantime, after more than 9 months of closure due to the COVID-19 pandemic, various educational institutions across the country will this week be fully reopening to allow for academic activities to continue following a directive from President Akufo-Addo. While this will allow for the resumption of face-to-face interactions between students and their teachers, there are growing concerns about how the schools will enforce strict COVID-19 protocols to help to prevent the spread of the virus. Here's my colleague Manuel Kranting with the story of the University of Ghana's controversial response to the risk of going back to school in a pandemic.
All universities, senior high schools and basic schools, i.e. public and private schools, will be closed Monday, 16th of March 2020 till further notice.
This announcement by President Akufo-Addo will change the face of education in Ghana at all stages, particularly the tertiary level. In no time, online education will replace the conventional face-to-face mode of teaching and learning, at least for the next 9 months, when the schools will remain closed as students return as to academic activities, management of education, in the of the coronavirus recorded.
For the refugees, public and private schools will be closed Monday, 16th of March 2020 till further notice.
Announcement. Replace the conventional face-to-face mode of teaching and learning, at least for the next 9 months, when the schools will remain closed as students return en masse to resume academic activities. Management of educational institutions are exploring varied options in a bid to limit the possibility of contraction and spread of the coronavirus. At the University of Ghana, where one of Ghana's first 2 cases was recorded, this caution cannot be overemphasized, even if it means sticking to its e-learning module and running a shift system to curtail the number of students present on campus at a particular time. Professor Nanaba Apia Amfo is pro-vice chancellor of the school.
And so this arrangement then allows students to come on campus. It allows them to access our IT resources on campus. So both internet access and then the appropriate technological guidance. So by allowing just about half of the student population to come on campus at a time, we reduce the population density that would be on campus at a particular time. And so we are able to minimize any infections that may crop up.
This will, however, not go without agitation from students, especially because the new arrangement will reduce the duration of a semester for a particular stream from 13 weeks to 6. Acting SRC president of the school, Nanamo Into Fianco, believes this will significantly impede academic work.
According to the modular system, the number for teaching and learning is 6 weeks. But the SRC proposed to the school's management that if it's possible, we should try as much as we can to add at least 3 or 2 weeks to the number of weeks that has been proposed or suggested to students. And we made a case that there are some students whose courses are very practical and very demanding. Of course, we are not trying to say that some courses are relevant than the other, but there are some courses that even with the normal 16 weeks that are being given them to study, they struggle to pass. How much more giving these students 6 weeks to study?
But for most of the freshers, the experience of a full-blown online teaching and learning module is new and presents too much uncertainties.
It's not that easy for me because from SHS, we are not equipped to that online program. So since we are doing it through online, it's somehow difficult for me. I prefer there should be a manual system, but due to the pandemic, how we do it, you have to manage.
We did IT, but we didn't get the time to use the online, so coming here will be good.
It wouldn't be very easy because I am coming from Accra and I'm a little bit okay with the literacy system, as in the IT system, but those coming from the villages who have had admissions here would find it very difficult because they don't know much about the system and how the school runs.
Just like students, lecturers at the university are also worried about how their workload will be increased under the arrangement, which will have at least some of them buried in work all year round. Secretary of UG-UTAG, Dr. Bethel Kwansa Bentum, hopes the modular system ends with the academic year.
It's going to be difficult for we, the lecturers, and the students as well. We don't have any option. The point is, if the students are not here, we will be out of job. I personally do not expect this to go beyond this academic year. After this academic year, we are hoping that this modular, certainly there will be some issues that we can't foresee at the moment. But I believe that all of us wish we go back to the normal 13 weeks because, in fact, it's about teaching and learning, not just teaching.
But management of the school maintains that as long as the virus remains a threat, this may be the best shot at having a smooth academic year.
I think that we continue to assure our students and calm them down that whatever we are doing, it is in their best interest. In fact, this arrangement is putting a lot more load on our faculty and staff.
Like many of the sectors which have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, the education sector, of course, where the University of Ghana largely plays, has also been affected. With all the interests at play, the teaching community, the students, and the university management, well, everybody is seeming to compromise to some extent. It waits to be seen how this innovation of a modular system will play out at the University of Ghana. From here at the Legon campus of the school, I'm Anor Kranting for JoyNews.
Now, let's go quickly to the University of Cape Coast, where my colleague Richard Kojonyako is standing by. Richard, what's the atmosphere on campus like? How are students coping with the return?
Well, so the students arrived on campus on Friday. There were initial hiccups, but they were overcome by the university authorities. And currently, this morning, I was at Valco Hall. I was the Nkrumah Hall, Kesleyford Hall, and things seemed normal. They had overcome the accommodation challenges because you know that the continuing students are currently not on campus. The university also has had a satellite campus at the Indom University in the KEA, and so it has sort of resolved some of the challenges they would have gone through. So when I spoke with the university authorities, they said that everything is on normal and orientation processes have begun at both the faculty levels and at the main university orientation levels. And so everything seemed to be normal at the University of Cape Coast. The COVID-19 protocols go to any of the halls, and then the academic user facilities, everything seemed to be in shape.
Now, Richard, you were explaining the measures that the university authorities applied to limit the numbers on campus. I want you to go through that in a bit more detail for me. Who are those students who are on campus, and who are those who are at the Indom School of Science and Technology?
Well, so those that are currently on campus, they are all first years, the fresh students that are currently on campus. So they've distributed them to the various halls of residence. Those that are currently at the Indom campus, that is now a satellite university campus for the University of Cape Coast. They are the School of Business, and so that is where they will be studying for this academic year. I do not know whether that negotiation is going to continue after this academic year, but that is what it is now. That is the measure that has been put in place between the Indom school authorities and the University of Cape Coast. This is going to reduce the pressure on the facilities of the University of Cape Coast.
Now, how are the students taking the news? We know that in the University of Ghana, the students opposed some of these measures. What's the story at University of Cape Coast?
Well, the students seem excited already. They've been in the house for so long. They've been itching to come back to campus, and you see them walking in pairs. And this morning, they were in some kind of a queue from their various halls of residence to the university. They were chatting among themselves what they were to expect and all of that. And so they seem generally satisfied with the protocols and the things that have been put in place by the university. In fact, in some of the halls, 2 students have been placed in every room. That is a departure from the usual things where 4 people, you see 4 people, 6 people in one room. But because of the measure, the COVID-19 adherence, that is why the university has put all of these measures in place to ensure that the students are safe on campus and academic activities will go on smoothly.
Thank you very much, Richard Kojo Nyako. Let's go back to the University of Ghana, Legon, where JoyNews' Kwekwa Sante reports that scores of freshmen and women have started reporting to the various halls of residence at that university to begin their tertiary academic journey. Now, while some are excited about their prospects of tertiary education, others are stranded because of their inability to register for a hall. He also joins us via Zoom with more. So, quickly tell us, why is it that some students are finding it difficult to register for a hall?
All right, Daniel. So here at the University of Ghana, there is this perennial challenge that keeps coming up every academic year because of the lack of accommodation facilities enough to take care of all the number of students that the university admits every year. This year around, it's no different. And we are all aware that the University of Ghana
we will go back to Kwekwa Asante when we have a clear connection with him so we can properly understand all the issues that are pertaining to the University of Ghana's return to school. As he tells us, there have been some challenges with registration for halls for first-year students. We want to fully understand, especially when final years and first years are on campus in the University of Ghana. We want to evaluate whether or not indeed the halls are congested or they are not, and whether or not the university campus has been able to deal properly with the issue of overcrowding. Now, let me take you to a related story, and Ghana needs to review all measures put in place to check the spread of COVID-19. That's the call from General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Justice Yankson. His call follows concerns that the country is recording increasing cases daily, a situation that threatens all gains made in the fight against the pandemic so far. We will hear from Dr. Yankson, but first, here's JoyNews' Raymond Aqua, and he has been recounting his excruciating experience with the disease. According to Raymond, he did not expect to survive. He spoke to my colleague Winston Amwa on the Super Morning Show.
So when I was told I had COVID, I asked my doctor, what should I do? He said, no, let's see what happens immediately. Stay with the treatment plan. As the time that he was talking to me, because I had taken the drugs, for the next 2 hours, it was an ordinary situation for me. I mean, I wasn't feeling super excited and all of that, but it was just okay. It was hours after that, when the situation started deteriorating, that I had to rush to the hospital.
We'll get to the...
Because, see, there's a thinking that, and me, I felt for my age, for somebody of my status, and maybe health status, the best COVID could do to me was keep me in bed for 2 days or 3 days.
Yeah.
So that is what I was bracing myself for. A repeat of those feverish conditions, regardless of how terrible it was supposed to be. The only extreme thought I had in mind was that, okay, I'll stay in bed for a couple of days. I mean, many people do, and they get better with time, and they get improved, and everything gets to work perfectly. But it wasn't that way. If I was not rushed to the hospital that night, when I was struggling to breathe, I'm so convinced that I'll not be alive today.
So, what happened when you got to the hospital, Raymond? I mean, were you able to breathe immediately? You were taken to the hospital?
No, not at all. In fact, immediately they had to put me on some machine to help me breathe, put me in a wheelchair, scale me around, find me a bed, ask me to wait for a while. Then I finally got a bed, and they transferred me into a better place for me to be able to lie down. That was painful. That was excruciating. It was the time I felt, if I cannot breathe at this time, I am almost gone. Indeed, it was almost like there's a small opportunity for you to breathe, but the air is not coming out into your lungs or coming out into your system. So you have pains all over your body, and yet you are struggling to breathe. Indeed, they brought a big tank, the oxygen tank, to replace the smaller one that they gave me previously. Even in that state, I was still convinced I'm struggling to breathe. I was still convinced my nostrils are being blocked every way. And even though I opened my mouth in a very wide way, there was no way I was getting air down my system. That was how terrible it is. Until they forced me to go and lie down, put all of those injections into my system, put the drips on me, and for the next 6 hours or so, it was a long routine. I opened my eyes, I was watching the process. I knew that there were so many injections going into my system. I knew that there were so many attempts to, do other things to me, turn me over, take blood samples, go to the laboratory, and I lied down there in so much pain, watching all of that episode go by. Now, it didn't get better. That's what actually shocked me, because when we got to the hospital, I had hope that, okay, well, I mean, things will improve immediately. From just having this, they call it nasal, there's a small thing they put in your nostrils. That's what they started with. In the days after that, I was not getting any better. So they had to bring in bigger, I don't know how they call it, but bigger tools for me to use in breathing.
Okay.
I was in bed. I was lying down. I could not move any part of my body. It was pain all over, actually, to the point that it reached the point I couldn't feel their injections. I know they were giving me consistent injections. I mean, it was like a routine. But I couldn't feel them consistent. In fact, it was almost like a dead body lying down there, monitoring what was happening, in so much pain, and only breathing. And the only thing that was happening was that I was breathing. And the breathing consistently was what kept me feeling that I was alive. Day after day, they decided to bring me bigger tools for me to help me in breathing. I knew I was not getting better because I could feel in my bones I was not getting better. There was this night, and that was a night I felt very sad. There was this night that when I was struggling to breathe and could not do anything about it, I was only listening to all the machines and monitors in the hospital or in the ward that I was. I told myself, well, I doubt if I'll make it. Because it was not only the pain, it was the fact that if I try to breathe, like if you breathe in, it starts. Then I feel my diaphragm move up a little bit. And that was a very painful thing. I had never felt that having to just breathe in and out could be this painful. And yet I was still there, lying down. I couldn't complain. It was just tears that was coming down my cheeks. And all that I felt then all the time was that this is not going to get better. If for nothing at all, I may deteriorate until maybe I die in the process. But the excruciating pain at the time only got worse throughout the night, and I couldn't sleep too. There were days I had slept and didn't know what was happening. And those were the best days of my life within that period. It is when I opened my eyes and I felt what was really happening to me. That was when I really felt the extreme pain. Well, the rest, they say, might be a long story in history, but it has been a very torrid experience for me.
Raymond.
Now, Raymond's account paints a picture of the current situation and how real it is. Well, I hope that we are all advised and in keeping ourselves safe and making sure that we observe all the protocols. Please, COVID-19 is real. You're live on JoyNews today. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll bring you business. You're live on JoyNews today. Before we go for business, let's hear from Dr. Justice Yankson of the Ghana Medical Association, who is calling for a second look at measures put in place, particularly enforcement of all protocols.
The country, we've gone to sleep and not paying much attention to COVID-19.
Listen, thank you very much. Let me start from the last bit of your questioning.
Sure.
I think that we should call a spade a spade. As a country, gradually, we are going to sleep as far as COVID-19 is concerned. The situation is that, one, enforcement is not happening at any levels whatsoever. By enforcement, I mean all the protocols that we have put in place. Let's be truthful to ourselves. Look at how, for example, the UK police are out there enforcing all the measures that have been put in place. And look at what is happening at our end. The president speaks to us. He's been so great. He tells us that, look, certain activities are still banned. And look at what happened throughout the festivities. And even during the political season. Has anybody been brought to book for any particular action? And we see any enforcement whatsoever happening along the line. Some of our problems are self-inflicted. And if we don't take time, it is going to hurt us and hurt us so much. We were just discussing the issue of challenges or lapses within the whole protocol or the management processes that we have put down for COVID. You are talking about contact tracing and what have you, quality assurance and what have you. The truth is this. As we speak, it is also creating a problem for the clinical management or the management of patients. If you go to, say, a laboratory, your test results are not properly in the system. Such patients, most of them are just walking around without care, or they go home, they get some pharmacy to give them some medications, or they call a friend who may be a doctor or a nurse or whatever, they give them something, and then that's it. Nobody really follows up with such people. I can tell you that over the Christmas period till now, I have had calls from over 20 different families who have had COVID one way or the other. And some of them, you talk to them, the system has not even reached out to them to see whether, one, they are doing well or what is happening to them in the first place. And these are people, per the structure we are running, are supposed to be known to the system. They are doctors or healthcare professionals who will be mapped to these patients to oversee their care, even where they are receiving care at home, i.e. outside the care centers or the hospitals. And all these things are not happening. Sometimes some of the reports, when we hear them, it's a bit difficult for us to really say that this is the truth. But you can't also dispute it. People will tell you that, look, I know this person who has tested positive, but I saw him at the pub. You know, so we really need to take a critical look at what is happening to us. Issues of reported cases yes, we trust in the numbers being turned out, but by and large, we also believe that there are a lot of cases that are yet to be reported. And from what Dr. CEDI said, it substantiates our thinking, i.e., the system is not able to pick up some results as turned out by some of the facilities. So clearly, if these reports have not gone into the system, clearly the numbers that are being reported, issues around the number of deaths, validation of the cases and all that, sometimes it takes longer than we think it should take. So when we see these numbers and sometimes we see what is happening in some of the facilities, COVID-related deaths, we are not too sure whether the figures are coming in today or are coming in tomorrow. I think that at this point, we need to have a complete review of all the processes that we have put in place.
Okay. Can you hold on for us?
Point.
Yes. Can you?
Now, Dean of the Faculty of Law at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, Dr. Ernest Kofi Abochi, has blamed the desire of the two main political parties to exploit the powers of Parliament as a reason for the violence that marred the just-ended election of Speaker. He insists opposition parties tend to want to gain control of Parliament to frustrate the work of the executive, while the executive pushes for control to set its agenda in motion without interference. This, he explains, does not augur well for the nation. Ghana's Parliament has been heavily criticized since Thursday when MPs were filmed on tape shoving each other, landing punches, snatching ballot papers and kicking ballot boxes as they voted for a speaker. Dr. Abochi has this morning been making a case that the calls for Ghana's constitution to be reviewed may not be the sole solution to such violence that mars elections. Now, he's been speaking at the UPSA Law School One Ghana Movement Constitutional Day lecture. Let's take you live for the latest updates.
The nation, not the party. Many people are growing, citizens are growing to the socialization that, your commitment is to a party first. Ghana is second, or if it's even there at all. Until we actually build these things, we socialize our young, we socialize our people, our students who are here, until the next generation realizes that there must be a prior commitment to country before party. We'll go back to the Constitution, and I think that we'll be amazed at the things we see. That these things have been there all along, but we'll see them anew. And I think the problem, as I indicated, is actor behavior. Good text can never succeed where actors are not committed. And that's it. Time up.
Okay, that has been amazing. That means that as chairman, I have nothing to say to bring it to a close, except I want to pick on two words that was used a lot. Institutions and actors. Who are the actors? We all sitting in this room. One of my friends said to me that, Midday mean bribe you, but, no, Midday means you bribe, but Obisa Midday no. Means that he doesn't accept bribes, but if he's asked, what about a policeman, some public officer official, you do that. If I take a poll and you're honest to yourself, there's nobody in this room who hasn't given a bribe. I'll say my mother actually were taught to bribe in secondary school. I was as lazy as anything. Once it was scrubbing this, so no sardine being here. So yes, that's what I was taught. But so on a serious note, I think that we take back. I mean, I'm shocked by the level of funding of the civic. What's it called? National civic. That's. I mean, I'm just shocked. I think that that's an area that we need. But beyond that, when you take the taxis, in your households, have these conversations that people are a bit more aware of it. It doesn't take that much, And institutions, yes, they're made up of human beings. So if you go and the person is misbehaving, you have to, stand up for your rights. I mean, I know the practical difficulties. I'm not suggesting things that we can't do, but I think that that's where it starts. It starts from ourselves. It starts from, us. Sometimes even in our own homes, having these.
You're live on JoyNews today. Coming up in business, CEDI loses 0.25% in value to the dollar with just 11 days into the year. Daryl Kwao will tell us why that happened after this.
And hi everyone, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The cedi has lost 0.25% in value to the dollar with just 11 days into the year. Usually the local currency goes through immense pressure in the first quarter of every year, though last year was an exception. The central bank has allotted almost $50 million per auction every 2 weeks to boost liquidity according to its auction calendar for Forex forward auction. This means a total of $300 million will be sold to banks or other businesses for onward transactions in the first quarter of this year. Courage Mate is senior economist with Databank Research. He has been speaking with Joy Business on this move by the Bank of Ghana to stabilize the cedi this year.
If you look at the target allotment amount for the first quarter of 2021, it shows a bigger amount to be sold on the market compared to how much they expect to sell subsequently. And this is a recognition of the fact that the first quarter of the year is typically a difficult period for the local currency, and the central bank had shown firm commitment to the market that during the first quarter FX forward auctions, they are prepared to allot up to $50 million per auction. Now this is 2 times the allotment amount they will be doing after the first quarter of 2021.
Now, the Securities and Exchange Commission is warning the public to beware of a Chinese company, Chai Century Henyu Group Limited, which has been undertaking electronic investment transactions. Now, according to the capital market regulator, it has not licensed the firm to carry out any capital market activity, including investing or trading for returns as mandated by Section 3 of the Securities Industry Act. As such, Chai Century Henyu Group Limited cannot operate as an investment firm. It is therefore advising investors to consult the SEC through its toll-free line or main telephone number to confirm the licensing status of any firm offering products or services relating to investments in the capital market. SEC reassured all market operators, investors, and the general public that it is dedicated to ensuring rigorous implementation of all the rules or operations in the capital market in order to promote the orderly growth and development of an efficient, fair, and transparent securities market. Well, finally, you'd be a magician to live on just your salary in 2021. That's not me saying it. That's according to Executive Director of Financial Literacy Africa, Dr. Richmond Frimpong, who is urging the public to monetize their skills and talents in order to have multiple streams of income. Here's a bit of what he told me on Talking Business on Joy Prime.
People take their salary to be their only source of income. You will be a magician in 2021 if the only source of income you depend on is your salary. Because salary is just one source of income. And if you want to build multiple stream of income, we are not also saying that trade the time of your employer for another job so that it hurts your main career. No, we are saying that there is something you can do even with your talent, with your skill sets, without having to be there personally. There is something you can do even with your regular income. For example, every month your money goes into your savings account when they pay you. Instead of keeping the money just in savings account, you can keep that money in, say, a call account, in a fixed deposit account, so that that income you are earning brings you an additional income that adds up to your regular monthly income. In that way, you build another stream of income so that it is able to help you to achieve your financial goal in the new year.
You talk about monetizing your talent and your skills. So, at what point do you also advise that people subscribe to investment schemes, where to put their money so that their monies will sort of multiply, if you like?
If you cannot monetize your skill sets, the monies that come to you should not be stuck in just a regular savings account. It is okay to keep it in a savings account, but you can have a call account, you can have a mutual fund, you can have a fixed deposit that you can go into withdraw anytime T, but it will still be earning you some return. That becomes an additional income. So even if you can't monetize your skill sets, leverage on financial assets and let it bring you an additional income.
Well, we have more business news coming your way at the top of the hour. Up next, stay tuned.
Let's now do a big dose of sport right here. Kumasi Asante Kotoko have been admonished by experienced football administrator Kofi Menu not to seek redress from the Court of Arbitration for Sport after they were kicked out of the CAF Champions League. Now, Joy Sports' Benaya Elam has the rest of the story.
The Porcupine Warriors are heading to CAS after failing aggrieved due to their CAF Champions League exit by Al Hilal. The club failed to raise 15 players for the game against the Sudanese club after 7 of their players tested positive. Kotoko believe the COVID-19 test results were tampered with. Renowned football administrator Kofi Menu urges Kotoko to focus on the Confederations Cup. Kotoko have been drawn against ES Setif of Algeria. The first leg encounter of the tie comes off on Sunday, February 14. Asante Kotoko.
In football, we have rules and regulations. And unfortunately for Kotoko, Kotoko had benefited from such a decision. And what people forget is that Kotoko and Mauritania, the Mauritanians had a second opinion about the status of their players. They went to, whilst the official of the GFA took them to a medical center, they were tested and it came positive. They had also taken one step ahead of them and had gone to a recognized medical center in Ghana to have a second opinion, and it came negative. That brought the argument on the first day of the match. So they had to say that now we will ignore all the 2 test reports the following morning. The following morning, they were supposed to go and pick these guys around 8 o'clock to the hospital. They didn't. The FA didn't do it. Kotoko had to go around 11 o'clock. So when they went for the test, the results delayed. Regardless of that, CAF said no. If it has delayed, it is your problem. So CAF declared Kotoko to go ahead. So when Kotoko went there and they had that problem and they could not raise a team, it was the same rule that CAF used to eliminate them from. So I think that instead of them spending money to go to CAS and all those things, they have the opportunity, another opportunity to play in the Confederation Cup. Let them psych up the players, let them know that it is as good as playing in Confederation Cup is as good as playing in the Champions League.
Kotoko have been drawn against ES Setif of Algeria. The first leg encounter of the tie comes off on Sunday, February 14. Asante Kotoko will travel for the second leg fixture on Tuesday, February 21.
Now, finally, renowned sports consultant Neil Armstrong Motagbe is urging government to be more strategic in building sports infrastructure across the country. Now, he spoke to Joy Sports last Saturday.
Talking about the expectations for 2021, I'm looking at a situation where the government and other stakeholders in our sports would look at the strengths of each region or each demographic of our country and situate sports facilities there that speak to the strength of those areas. So, for example, along the coastlines of our country was to show that if we developed a world-class swimming center in any of the towns along the coast, we wouldn't be making or giving space to those fisher boys who go into the sea, swim in all manner of waters, a chance to develop and hone their swimming skills and therefore become potential Olympians in the future. And that's just one example. It's really about how do we situate our sports in the national strategy. Corporate Ghana as a company, where does sports sit? And I would advocate that sports has so much that it could potentially contribute to the gross domestic product of our nation. We need to look at sports beyond recreation. Yes, we keep talking about this now business, but what actions are advising our approach towards saying that sports is no longer recreation but business? That for me is where we need to go as a nation. And with that kind of approach, I'm sure that sports will become one of the center pillars of our development. And as espoused by our President, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, develop the human capital of our nation. That's where we should be going.
Well, that's it for sport for now. I'll be back with more at 2 p.m. when I bring you sports today. JoyNews Today continues. World news comes up, a bit of showbiz as well. And so you have to stay right there with us. My name is Nathaniel Atto, and I have love for sport.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to Showbiz here on JoyNews today. Now, hip live artist Kwao Kese has revealed his aspiration is to become a lawyer in the near future. The rapper of Daybreak Hits told Andy Dusty it's not too late to pursue his dreams of becoming a lawyer.
So what would you have done if you were not a musician?
I'm still looking up to it. You know, I wanted to be a lawyer so bad, and I still have those dreams.
I can see in the court.
Yeah.
Who is your lawyer? That you see some lawyer they come, tall lawyer.
Yeah.
My lord, you see this guy, he must go to jail. So what, you still want to pursue law?
Yeah. You know, we still have life. We don't know what tomorrow might bring. I still have dreams about that. You know, and I feel like I can do it. Yeah, so when the right time is due.
But when is the right time? This is the right time.
You know, the right time might be today, might be tomorrow. You know, people don't know my plans, but that's what I'm saying. I still have an eye for that.
But you know, law involves, or it requires a lot of reading.
Oh yeah, I read a lot.
Really?
Yeah. I read to be a musician, to be a good musician, to put words together, you should be somebody who has an open mind. You know, you can't just get up and be putting words together. So people who put words together to make people feel happy, they can be of anything that they want to be.
To other stories, Ace media personality Joyce Akuma Dongote Paddy, popularly known as Akuma Mama Zimbi, says she will be remembered for empowering couples and widows in the country. Mama Zimbi shares her story with me on eVibes.
When you mention Akuma Mama Zimbi, they'll ask you, the one who talks about sex? Because I was the one bold woman who gave my life and myself out in the year 2000 to educate people, married couples, about intimacy, because it was part of it. To be romantic, to be sexy, to respect your husband, to respect your wife, not to be shy when you're in bed with your husband, you know. So they remember me out of the empowerment that I've given them, and then how to dress, how to talk, how to be romantic, you know. Yeah. And also have an NGO, Mama Zimbi Foundation. I'll also say people will remember me on my Widows Mama Zimbi Foundation, because I empowered women a lot.
On that note, we end Showbiz here on JoyNews today. My name is Becky.